and what are some of the best examples of gamification, either in a social context or commercial context, that you guys know of or can share? Apart from our operating system.
Yeah,
Well, yours is definitely.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. My absolute favourite example is the game of Folded. That was everyone aware of the game, the Folded? No, oh, excellent.
Lovely
Okay,
example.
all right. It's what sort of signifies the potential of gamification in a business, scientific, and community setting. So it's the story goes. A few years ago, the University of Washington was struggling with a problem that had been sort of struggling with for about sort of 15 years. So it basically said we need to understand the protein properties of a enzyme that is relevant to, going part of the way to solving the AIDS virus. So understanding the way the properties of this enzyme, which is folding proteins, was really important to them. So they've been struggling for 15 years and they said, stuff it, we're not getting anywhere. So what do we do? So they said, well, this game and gamification stuff, there's got to be something in that. Let's develop a game and see how that goes. So by developing a digital game, using mass and open innovation models for collaboration, they developed a game called Folded. So it had contained all the scientific knowledge that was needed, but you didn't need to be a scientist that played. So all the dynamics of the game was puzzle solving, sort of how do you fold the protein, the use of a mouse. So when they released the game, 240,000 people enrolled to play, students, engineers, they weren't from the scientific community at all. So within 10 days, all those gamers solved the problem. In those 10 days, that took the university 15 years to get a handle on. So that was it's a prime example. There's been numerous examples, both with Folded and other sort of similar techniques, of where you're using a game and a game environment, combining it with digital technology, social media, and obviously sort of the game dynamics to actually incorporate problem solving and engagement to solve a problem that is a scientific problem. So it's, it's been one of the most, it's the poster child for gamification in many cases.
I've got two examples. One we've been directly involved with for the last 5 years, and that's it's a website called ReadingX, which is aimed at 3 to 6 year olds. Some people here, if you've got kids, may well know it. It's a really Australian success story, and it's basically gamified learning to read. So there's about 2,000 activities and ongoing rewards for very young children to start engaging in the very early stages of letter recognition, phonics, and going through the basic stages of learning to read, right through to becoming really quite outstanding readers if they continue the process. It's about 5 years, probably launched about 4 years ago. We got involved 5 years ago. It's an education publisher in Australia, an Australian-owned one, relatively small. It's now global. They charge $60 for 6 months for access. They're now over 1 million subscribers. It's a phenomenal success story, done incredibly well. So I really love it because the kids think they're playing games, but in fact they're learning to read and they're really entertained. So it works really, really well. The other one, of course, is Nike Plus, and I'm sure most people will be familiar with it. And I just wanted to touch on it because I think there's, particularly for FMCGs, I think it's a couple of really important things that Nike have achieved in terms of outcomes that are sometimes missed in it. And the first thing is that, you have to kind of join the dots to understand just how big a thing this is. For hundreds of years, FMCGs have never had direct contact and relationship with their customers. It's all been through a retail network. Nike Plus now have that. They now have a direct communication channel with hundreds of thousands of customers. And there's all kinds of benefits to their program. But on top of that, they have the biggest behavioral database you can possibly imagine, and they know more about their customers than they've ever known. So for those two factors alone, they really highlight, I guess, some of the strengths of gamification, that real engagement. The customers are even paying to be involved in this thing. They've designed it so well. And then just that phenomenal data that Nike are getting out of it as well. My two examples.
Cool. I guess for me, the one that I always love, which again you may have heard of, is was it emerged out of Volkswagen's fun theory, which was the car fines, where to reduce the speed of cars, everyone who drove below the speed limit in Stockholm got automatically entered into a lottery to win the speeding fines of people who did go over the speed limit. And it's a beautiful
Crime.
encapsulation of an idea to turn the speed of driving into a big game. So we'll talk now about some of the benefits of it. As we go through, we obviously want it to be a conversation, so if anyone's got any questions in between mine, I'll flip over, and if anyone's got any questions or observations, views they want to give at any point, just keep your hand up throughout the session. We'll ask questions throughout. And Keaton is also standing by on Twitter, so if anything comes through via the hashtag M360 hashtag with questions, we can ask those as well. So we've started to touch on it already. What are some of the benefits? So what are some of the advantages? You mentioned information about an audience and data capture, for one. What are some of the benefits you can get from applying gamification? What are some of the plus points?
Well, to me, I think data is one of the key benefits. If you look at a traditional loyalty program that a supermarket might implement, it's not about loyalty, it's about data. It's about understanding the customers and what they're buying and behaviours is. It's just wrapped up as a loyalty program, largely. And the huge advantage about a gamification-based loyalty program, and there's lots of applications for gamification, but in that situation is you can apply it in situations where a sale doesn't have to take place. Because you are not rewarding with tangible rewards, and the motivation is something which doesn't cost money, you can apply it in all kinds of areas, and particularly good where you are a business which doesn't have the volume of product that a supermarket might have. So if you're a car manufacturer, for example, a sale only happens every 3 years, so you can start to reward all of the things that lead towards a sale, and because you're doing that, you're gathering all of this behavioural data. So you understand how many test drives it takes before somebody buys. Intrinsically, it's just all there. So the data is probably the biggest one for me.
Yeah.
Marigo,
I second that about data, absolutely, because you, like game developers do, collecting data, they collect, player dossiers, so they're actually using that data to create better products and better marketing strategies. But for me, the big one is creating deeper customer relationships. For example, just the use of say, augmented reality games. So for example, like Mercedes-Benz and BMW have used that, sort of having sort of the, find the Beamer or the Merc around town. Just putting them in different locations. You're sort of creating an experience where it's a physical and emotional experience too, that you're sort of running through a city, discovering the city, trying to find the game. So it adds all that to that element of that playful element, and how we connect with the product and the brand is very different to what it has been before. So it's not just sort of cognitive, it's experiential as well. And Jay-Z did an amazing thing with the release of his memoirs a couple of years ago. I mean, that was a massive exercise, but his view was, I don't want people to read about my life, I want them to experience it. So that,
I feel the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the 240 pages of his memoirs scattered around the New York City using sort of geolocation, you actually got to experience where he hung out, where he got arrested, where he got drunk. That creates a much deeper bond with his followers. So that's it's those deeper relationships that I think really important to brands now, because people are looking for a more meaningful interaction with the brand. So gamification can provide a greater array of different experiences to do that.
Cool.
I think just continuing on that, the other one for me as well is, one of the examples we use is, all the time we talk about it, is the progression bar in LinkedIn when you've signed up. And we use it as an example really because it doesn't look like a game. And so when you sign up to LinkedIn, and many other sites use it as well, but I do credit LinkedIn with this, you get told your profile is 15% complete. And in that one thing, they have set you a goal and giving you some feedback about how well you're doing, and the behaviour that it drives is that people get curious and they go, how do I get to 100%? And they start filling in their profile because they really want to get to 100%. And the question I ask so many brands is, if you could, how many of your customers know how good a customer they are? If you could give them some feedback as to how good they are and set them a goal to be a better customer, how many of them do you think would actually do that? And I think for me, that's the big missed opportunity for those who are not doing gamification right now. It's a huge opportunity.